Hey, it's John at Tinderbox Arts. I'm normally talking about my Triumph or BMW motorcycles, but there's a new machine in my garage, and this is going to be my first reactions to this bike. Now, I purchased this for my wife. She never really took a liking to sitting on the back of a motorcycle, so instead I convinced her to get a three-wheel license. In my state of New Jersey, there's a separate motorcycle license for three-wheel vehicles. It's basically a regular motorcycle license with a restriction. And so she can ride any three-wheeled vehicle, but most of them are going to be made by this company, Can-Am. This is a Ryker model, which is sort of their entry level. It's the 900 version, and it's the rally version. So it has a little bit upgraded suspension and a little bit bigger engine than the base model. So I'm going to split my first reaction to this machine into two parts. One is riding it and what that's like, and the other part is the machine itself. So let me start with riding it. Since I bought this used, it was about 50 miles away from my home, and I drove it back on highway and local roads, so I had a chance to kind of explore it. And it is very different from riding a two-wheel motorcycle. To be very honest with you, I've seen people riding these on the street, and they kind of lean back and forth, and I thought they were being melodramatic, but they're really not. This is a very physical machine to ride. Now, the front suspension on these is very much like a car. It does give you stability because you have three wheels, so you're not going to tip over. On the other hand, when you're on the highway and there's a lot of potholes or bridges with a lot of repairs, that sort of thing, it does tend to get a little bit squirrely. So when you're going over bumps, you know, it tends to jump around a little bit, and that is a more physical thing than on a motorcycle, which basically wants to stay upright and stay straight as long as you don't do something stupid. Now, on a two-wheeler, when you're riding a curve, you're going to lean the bike in order to stay on your line. With a three-wheeler like this, you steer to stay on your line, but the forces of the curve want to throw you off of the seat. So in order to counter that, you have to lean your body, not for the bike's sake, but just to stay on the seat. So it's a very physical experience in that sense, in that every curve you take, you're kind of leaning against that curve in order to stay on the bike. As far as wind protection, it's actually pretty good. This little baby windshield is just one that came with it. There's a bigger one that came with it. But, you know, as far as your legs and all that, you're very well protected. The engine heat is a little high, I would say, on your feet. But the rest of your body, it's not bad. So my first impression riding this is that it can get a little bit squirrely. You are steering rather than leaning, and it's a little bit more physical in some sense than a two-wheeler. Now let's talk about the machine itself. As far as the controls, you'll notice there's no clutch. That's because this is a continuously variable transmission, a CVT. All you have for controls is a throttle, okay? Roll it on, and you have a brake down here. That's it. One foot brake, one throttle, there's no handbrake, and all three wheels are affected by the brake pedal. So it's all very, very simple as far as controls. The starting procedure is a little bit weird. There is a key of sorts, which is right down here, and it's not really a key, it's just like a fob basically. And once that is in place, or near the bike anyway, you turn this button on. You hit this button to wake up the computer. You roll the throttle forward, okay? And then you can hit the start button and it will start right up. There are a number of things about the design of this that really impress me. And honestly, it puts some of the other bikes that I've ridden to shame, including my BMW. The controls are very, very adjustable. So up here you have the handlebars. I can do this one hand. I'm holding the camera in one hand. Watch this. All you have to do is flip this lever up, right? And then these handlebars can slide back and forth quite a bit. Wherever it's, you know, closer. I mean, that's got to be good 4 inches or maybe more. So highly adjustable. You can also loosen these and turn the handlebar one way or the other if that helps as well. So very clever, and you can do this on the fly. I put that lever down, you're all set. So that is very clever. The foot pegs are another extremely clever design. Basically, I'm going to do this one-handed, right? If I flip this up, it's like a clamp. Once I flip that up, watch how far I can move this. I mean, that is extremely adjustable. It's got to be 12 inches of adjustment, right? Here's the other interesting thing. The brake pedal, if I move this closer to me, the brake pedal is probably going to be in the wrong place. So to adjust that, I just pull it out and put it wherever I want it, let go, and it's in place again. So, I mean, You cannot ask for more than that. To lock in the adjustment, it's like a clamp. I just push this back down, it's locked in. So you can do that on the fly with no tools, a good 12-inch adjustment. You want more of a cruiser feel to it? Move the foot peg way out here. You want more of a sport bike feel to it? Move it back here. I mean, it's really clever. Another thing I really like is access to the panels. Now, on my BMW, for example, you want to get out the air filter. I mean, you know, it's 20 minutes of taking panels off. Look at this. There's a little, you see this little knob right here? I turn that half a turn, and this pops right open. That's my air filter right there. This is a little filler for the gas tank. Here's the oil. You know, check the oil. It's just like a car. I mean, that's very clever. And it's got a little tether right here, so it's not going to fall on you. This is a little gasket, so the air filter is sealed. I mean, you can't ask for easier than that. And I just turn this back in, and I'm locked in. Storage in the front here, if I give this a little press. So there's some pretty good storage there, actually. It's pretty decent size. On the front here, there's a panel that covers the whole top. There are two plastic tabs. If I stick hands in there and just push those tabs inward, this just pops right off, as simple as that. I mean, that's pretty nice. And then if I bring the camera in here, you can see battery is right here, fuses are right here. I mean, everything's very well situated. Here's the cooling system. So you really can't ask for better access than that. As far as the engine, it's a 900 triple, and it's got plenty of power. Now, with the CVT transmission, they can program the engine to have maximum output at a certain RPM, and that works very well. So when I'm on the highway, I could be at 70 miles an hour. You just roll on throttle, you're at 90. I mean, it's not a problem as far as the power. It is a water-cooled engine, so you got the radiator in the front, and there is a reverse gear. So this lever, you can move backwards for reverse and forwards for front, and it is handy. I mean, it's not difficult, honestly, to move this around just with your feet in a parking lot, because it's got, you know, the seat is very low. So it's not really a problem to move it around just with your feet, but if you need a little help, the reverse is right here and it's very easy to engage. Now, there is no neutral on this, right? Like on a motorcycle. So when you start it up, it's not going to go anywhere. It'll just sit there. But basically, the CVT transmission is disconnected. I'm not even sure how they do it, honestly. But as soon as you start to roll some throttle on, you'll feel a little bit of a bump after, you know, you get over a certain RPM. And then the transmission is engaged. And from then on, you know, depending on how much throttle you give it, it'll just keep going. And the gearing of that transmission essentially changes on the fly. So you can roll on throttle and back it off, whatever you need to do, but that's your only control is the throttle. Now, the Rally model has upgraded suspension. So up here, I already showed you there is a preload adjustment, which is very easy to do. And there's a mainspring for the rear right here, and again there's a preload adjustment. And if I look on this side, there is a adjustment here for rebound. So it's pretty well adjustable. The tires are like an automotive style. The pressure in the front on this one anyway is supposed to be 20 psi, which is quite low. On the back it's 25 psi. But as low as that sounds, it doesn't seem to be a problem. There is a rear bag right here, which was included on this bike. It's not standard, which is good for around town. So my first impression of this bike is quite positive. The design is really quite clever in many ways, especially the controls, the adjustability of them, the panel access I really love. They've done an excellent job. The engine, plenty of power, no problems there. The CVT transmission I was a little concerned about because it's just something different to me. But, you know, it seems to work. I don't have any problems with it. The suspension adjustability, everything looks pretty well done. I think maintenance on this appears to be pretty easy from what I've seen. Now, this particular one only has 900 miles on it, so it really doesn't need much in the way of maintenance yet. But I will get into that in the future. As far as riding it, yes, it's a different experience than a two-wheeler. You have the wind in your hair just like on a two-wheeler, but you know, it's a more physical experience. You are steering rather than leaning. It's a little bit different. But I think for a situation like we have with my wife, she really doesn't feel comfortable balancing on a motorcycle, and this three-wheeler presented an opportunity to ride with me, but in a different way, and I think we're really going to enjoy it. So there may be some future videos on maintenance on this, but so far I'm very pleased.